regards to our strategy map, I think it goes without saying that in our efforts to be a reliable organization, this presentation is about maintaining a safe learning environment. This presentation also talks about the value and the benefit of our district's commitment to know technology, so that the partnerships that we have with our students, our parents, and our community will help to yield the outcomes that we desire relative to the graduation rate, post-school readiness, and grade-to-grade promotion. As you know, we had two phases. The first week being the week of November 9th. That included, it says here, kindergarten, pre-K through second grade, sixth grade, as well as ninth grade students. And the effort there was really about acclimatizing, ensuring that students and staff had the opportunity to get to know the lay of the land. In many ways, these were our youngest learners. In many ways, these were students who had not yet had the opportunities to visit these campuses. Prior to COVID, these students, rising sixth graders, rising ninth graders, would have had the opportunity to go over and visit the middle school that they would be attending this year, go over and visit the high school that they would be attending this year, but those opportunities weren't afforded. So we felt it necessary to be able to go slow to go faster. This is the second week, the second part of the phase, and it includes the rest of our grade level. So in many ways, all of our students who are intended to be in-person learning, face-to-face learning, are in school this week. I wanted to share with you a little bit about the preparation efforts. As many of you know, we took measures months ago to purchase kiosks so that we can expeditiously get temperature scanned. We placed a premium on making sure that we had disinfectants, making sure that we had sanitizers, make sure that we had wipes, make sure that we had the contactless water coolers. Many of the decisions that you have been making over the last 6 to 7 months have come to fruition over the last 2 weeks. And I wanted to share with you my appreciation as well as share with you the appreciation of our staff. This is a breakdown of those students who are considered to be both in-person and virtual. So as you can see here, 54% of our enrollment is in person. 54% of our enrollment. That constitutes a little more than 11,000. Over here on the left side, the virtual learners, just at 10,000. Okay? Up here, you may be wondering about this, what we call temp virtual. These students constitute any student who was expected or planned to be in the building, but had some reason that enabled them or warranted their having to be remote learning. And so we want to be able to make sure that we can capture them for attendance purposes. And as I move to the next slide, I think you'll see why it's important that we pay attention to attendance. So even though we have now 2 attendance programs, 2 attendance monitoring protocols, we take our head counts when students are face-to-face. We check the logins and check for engagement with regards to those students who are virtual. I shared with you some weeks back that we had some difficulty, if you would. The longer that we kept students virtual, the further away from our average daily attendance that we would get. And so I have 3 slides that I'd like to share with you. I draw your attention, this is the overall attendance for the district as it stood basically yesterday. We were settling somewhere around 80% average daily attendance. I shared with you last month that historically the district's average daily attendance is approximately 92, 93%, give or take. So we still have some work to do, but as you move over to those students who are in person, you're starting to see now an uptick, and it's relatively simple. It's easier to keep your hands on it and to make a count of students that you can physically see. But it also speaks to, in many ways, when students are in school, they tend to be more likely to come to school. So I wanted to share that with you, that we have seen an uptick in the attendance versus those students who are in person in relation to those students who are virtual. And so as you'll see, I shared this data with you last month. Over the last week, we're starting to see even more of a decline with regards to the number of students who are logging in consistently from day to day. I thought that was important for you to know that the staff recognizes this. We see this as a concern. We see this as a long-term issue that we're working diligently to wrap our hands around where these students are, what are the barriers that prevents them from logging on and being next, and how might we stand in the gap between them, their families, and our schools, so that we can continue the education process for those students who are either elected to be virtual learners, or by virtue of our efforts to commit to social distancing and physical distancing, chosen to be virtual learners. Enough about the data. I wanted to share with you just a few photos, because at the end of the day, when you think of the first days of school, this is what you strive for. And so here you see an empty pre-K classroom, and you see what we call these floor desks. Over here, you see a young elementary student who's actually standing in front of one of those temperature kiosks that you purchased, or you gave us the authority to purchase a few weeks back. This enables us to get students in and out of the building by also checking their temperatures relatively quickly. Over here you see an elementary classroom that's physically distanced with 15 desks. I'll show you in just a few seconds why those desks are arranged the way that they are and how schools are using those desks in that particular configuration. I wanted to share with you more photos because in many ways I would be remiss if you didn't have the opportunity to see the smiling eyes, because you can't see their teeth, but you can see the smiling eyes of these elementary students. You can also see the excitement on Dr. Danielle Howard's face here at Ingram High Elementary. This is one of my favorite photos because at the end of the day, the takeaway from the staff is while there may have been a little bit of angst, there mostly was excitement. There mostly was gratitude on behalf of the students to be able to get back to school, engage with teachers, and return to their academic journeys. This is a slide that talks about our meal service. And so while we're not where we normally would be, I did want the board to understand that as we have more students in schools, we're able to more consistently and persistently feed students. And this is a big deal for us. You all know the concerns that we have relative to food insecurity. We're excited about the opportunity to ensure that we're still able to provide curbside meals for those students who are in virtual learning, and then we have our normal meal process for the students who are face-to-face. At no time, however, are we utilizing cafeteria pervasively in large amounts to feed students. So we are following the health district's guidance with regards to feeding students in the classroom so that we can maintain social distancing. But we also have static cohorts of students in one space as opposed to our normal flow of students coming in and out of a given space. I shared with you earlier the classroom configurations. The diagram on the left enables us to support two things. One, our capital improvement and our safety and security team actually worked with some engineers to create this diagram. This is what classrooms really look like. If you notice, these desks here that are outlined in blue, in the event that there were COVID activity, this is how we would quickly be able to identify those students who would either be identified for exposure or close contact. So rather than having to recall a lot of information, all of our classrooms were asked to create seating charts, and so instantaneously we're able to determine who was considered to be a close contact. That's precious time that we're able to save so that we can communicate with the health department as well as communicate with our staff and those families. The other side of that just happens to be a real-life classroom. So I wanted you to see, in many ways, the planning that our staff took into account in the days in which we did not have students are coming into fruition to support the days in which we do have students to maintain the health, safety, and well-being of both our students and our staff. This is some relatively outdated COVID data, but it is real data. I wanted you to see that we do collect a database full of data that enables us to track what's happening with whom in terms of students or staff. To what degree is it a positive case, or is it an exposure or close contact? And how often are these things happening? So this is one of the slides that I actually shared with our district leadership team 2 weeks ago. This is in many ways part of the data that we publish with the district weekly, and I wanted you to have the opportunity to see how we're able to disaggregate that data. What you may or may not know is that we attend calls with the North Central Health District on a weekly basis. We have one of those calls again today at 2:30. This is the latest information that's not relative to Bibb County specifically, specifically, this is the state of Georgia. But what I can share with you is this is us, no pun intended. And it basically indicates that while we see a lot of COVID activity, we still aren't seeing as much as other spaces, but we've not seen a decrease that gives us reason to be unalarmed or unconcerned. For you, the takeaway is the staff is aware. The staff is using the data. The staff is using the data to make informed decisions so that we can keep the safety of our students and our staff at the top of our priority list. Again, another implication of the data, this particular data talks about K-12 school-age children. And so again, you have those school-age children that would be in our elementary schools. Orange represents school-age children that would be in middle schools. The blue represents the school-age children that would represent the high schools. And as you can see, this is the summer spike that we were all talking about. This is actually 2 weeks ago. Chances are, if things continue to be the same, we may be able to see another spike. We're hoping to see another decline in this type of data. I was on the table meeting earlier this morning. As you know, board members, we had some incident around Southwest High School that warranted having to close the school for in-person instruction. I wanted to share with you that we don't take those decisions lightly, but more importantly, we have a system for managing said decisions. And so for us, as you see here, you see 5 core systems. And it's intentional that the one in the middle happens to be instructional services. For whatever reason, it didn't give you the breakdown of what teaching and learning means. I don't know if that was just a glitch on my end. But ultimately, these are the 5 systems in coherence that we're using to make decisions as to when is it time to close a school for in-person instruction, and what do we do about reopening the school for in-person instruction. I want you to know that these decisions relative to public relations are about our ability to communicate concisely, to communicate clearly, so that we are taking pulse of the perceptions of the neighborhood and the community. To what degree are we able to communicate and be clear about why we're doing what we're doing and the implications for families. With regards to the personnel, it's simple. These are about the people. Do we have the people to do what our school district or what our schools were intended to do? The operations are about our capacity to support that. Are you able to get a school cleaned? Are you able to get a school functional? Can you provide meals? Are you able to transport the students? What are the operational components that are necessary in order for the school to run? And then the leadership. We have strong leaders. We want to make sure that we take their perspective. What does the leader say about the ability to bring these systems together and forecast the success that we desire for our students and our staff on a daily basis? So those are the 5 systems that we use. These are the five systems that we leaned upon earlier this week and over the weekend relative to Southwest. This is what it boils down to. Red, amber, and green. It's really that simple. It's really that simple. With regards to a green level, in that particular situation, we believe that the level of success or the degree of success is high. It's likely, and we're looking for, from those 5 systems, greens. In the event that one of those 5 systems says that they're amber, we recognize that, I'm not going to say it's a 50-50 chance, but the circumstances are not what we desire. That doesn't mean that we can't be successful. It simply means that at the given moment, the circumstances are not what we desire, and we need to begin to leverage confluence at that point. Obviously, if the circumstance or the situation is red, we do not anticipate success. We do not anticipate to be able to function in which the district or the school was intended to function. So in the case as it relates to Southwest, this was the grading system, if you would. And for the record, for all intents and purposes, it was personnel. Instructional services were green. Operations were green. Public relations were green. But at the end of the day, we did not have the people to do what it is that schools needed to do relative to supervision in the building. And without the people, we could not reopen that school. So I wanted you to understand, I wanted you to know the thinking. I'm very proud of our staff's flexibility to come up with systems such as this. And I wanted you to know that should we be faced with another circumstance or decision like that, we have a way of using the data, we have a way of using our people, but more importantly, we're relying on our principles to make those decisions. I'll end with this. You've heard a lot about mission first, people always. Over the last 7 months, while most people may not have noted, everyone who's presented before you has referenced either our vision statement, our mission statement, our values, our non-negotiables. And I just want to reiterate that over the last 7 months, in the height of this pandemic, none of those things have changed. Our mission is to provide a quality education for the children in this district. We do that with the people that we have. I want you to know, as I know that you know, we will always keep the mission first, but we will always do so with the best interest of our people. With that, I'll take any questions.